Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So I got a question from Aurélie, my friend from France, and she asks, how would you deal with terrorist attacks happening in Europe as you're not there? How I see it and how to stay positive. So you're right, Aurélie, I'm not there. I can't answer that question. I can take a guess on how I can answer that question. I mean, if I was somewhere where there was terrorist attacks happening around me, um, I'd like to think that I would. No, see, I can't answer that. I mean, that's a crazy, crazy thought. I can only imagine what everybody's going through. I can only imagine the cries, the screams, the bombs, the explosions, the gunshots, the losses, the fighting, the hate that must be happening because that's where it all comes from. It comes from hate, you know? And the youth are not educated. They're not educated. They don't know what to do. You're young as well, Orly. You guys don't know what to do. You don't even know what's happening or why it's happening. So, I mean, you got to get educated. You got to get educated and you got to figure out why it's happening. And there's so many factors. Politics, it goes back. There's people will tell you terrorists is always going to happen as long as people have access to guns, as long as we're in somebody's country taking their oil, as long as we keep denying 9/11, as long as there's so many factors that are playing into terrorism and why it's happening and why it's going to continue to happen because that's the reality. It's going to continue to happen. These concerts are great. People coming together and saying, let's fight together to stop it. It's not going to stop. So we need to get educated, we need to get smarter, and we need to figure out better ways to fight it. And by fight it, I mean not fight it, but conquer it with love, because terrorist attacks comes from one root. It comes from hate. Hate is the root of all evil, and that's where it starts. And the opposite of that is love. So it starts amongst a small group of friends. It starts with the people that you know in your circle, in your surroundings, showing one another. Before we get to the big picture on how to stop terrorism and these explosions happening fucking weekly now, we need to get a little bit more intimate and interactive with our neighbors, because that's where it starts. It starts with our community, who we're with, who we're chatting with, how they feel, what they're going through in their lives. So you need to start spreading more love. We need to start talking to people that we don't know, communicating, asking questions, doing kind acts over and over and over again. And by continuously being a kind individual and spreading love continuously, unconditionally to everyone, it's a seed that needs to be planted. And I mean, it only takes that one person to plant it into somebody with so much hate in their heart, so much hate, like what they're thinking of doing and what they're planning on doing is unthinkable, unimaginable. So it's planting a seed in that person, the seed of love, showing one another that we are the same and that you care and you can be an ear and listen to what they have to say or why they feel the way they do, why they have no self confidence, why they hate themselves. We need to start so small. We need to start in a group of 10 people, because I promise you, in every group of 10, there's at least one person with their heart full of hate. Maybe not completely full, but there's a lot of hate happening. Hate towards themselves, hate towards maybe family members, friends, society, government, um, leadership. That's where it starts. And then it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And then it becomes something larger. Then it becomes attacks and killing sprees, which is what we're seeing now. How to stay positive? You can't stay positive, sweetheart. You can't. It's impossible. My bubbly little, oh, change your perception, change this. That's all for tiny little minor things happening in lives. Anything that doesn't have to deal with a death, because to me that's everything else is minor. Everything else is minor. If it's not a death, a loss of someone, everything is minor. Relationships, marriages, kids, how you feel about yourself, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, blah 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 blah. It's all minor compared to death. So those types of situations, I talk about changing your perception to something positive. Terrorism, you can't be positive about it. There's no light in that darkness. So you have to start spreading love in your tiny little community and spreading that seed so it can start to grow to others. And that's what I would do. That's what I would start with. I think if everybody worked on helping the little community around them by showing a little bit more love, care, attention, tenderness, appreciation, it's going to spread. It's going to spread and it's going to touch so many lives. And things like terrorism and attacks and fighting, and eventually that will fade. But right now that's not fading because it starts with us. It starts with the youth, how we're treating one another, how we're talking to one another, how we're treating ourselves, how we speak about ourselves. So you have hate between two high school friends or ex-friends. That's where it starts. That's how minor it starts, and then it grows. So that's what I would do. That's what I would focus on. I would focus on spreading love, reaching out, and letting people in your surroundings know that you care about them and that you're willing to listen to them and hear them out, because you have no idea what people around you are going through. And that's where the hate seed gets planted and grows and grows and grows and grows until shit like this happens. And this isn't new. These attacks in Europe, they're not new. They've been happening for decades all around the world. It's just now more people are speaking about it because they're becoming it's more relatable to them because they're in Europe right now, and they see what's happening, they hear what's happening, but this has been happening for decades and decades. And I'm Lebanese and Syrian. I've seen it. I've heard it. Yeah, so I think it's about getting the world to spread enough love to beat the hate. Okay, call me or send me a private message if I was a little confusing or didn't answer your question to the way you would have liked me to. Sorry. Okay, bisous. Love you. Ciao.